All right, let's do 4.2. The Swartz family also decided to buy and resell donuts in packets of 4 in order to fund the tour. So just when you're going through paragraphs like this, just highlight the numbers because often you have to use them. They sourced the prices of donuts at 4 stores. Their target was to sell 100 packets of donuts. The fixed cost, remember you must know the difference between fixed and variable, for the buying and repackaging of the donuts was $201. So remember, fixed means they're going to incur that cost no matter how many donuts they sell. Variable is when they sell more donuts, they have more expenses. Okay. The graphs for the income and expenses for the buying, repackaging, and selling of the packets of donuts, as well as the store prices of the donuts, are given in Annex to C. Okay, when they say that, go find it. So there's a lot of information here. Here's where they can buy donuts. And here's the graph. So we're going to use these two in answering our question. So make sure that you have your page with you. And let's go through this together. Use Annex to C and the information above to answer the questions that follow. Write down the name of the store that offers the third lowest. Okay, third lowest. Okay, let's look. FLM is the lowest, then SPR store, then P&P. So this is the third lowest. This is the fourth lowest, but also could be seen as the highest. So just be able to be flexible in your understanding. So P&P store is the third lowest price. So P&P, let me just make sure you can see there, P&P store. You don't have to give any explanation. It didn't ask for the price. It didn't ask for anything. It just asked for write down the name. Also remember, there's no excuse to get the name wrong or spell it wrong because it's right there. The total cost for buying and repackaging 50 packets of donuts is $701. Determine with calculations from which store they bought the donuts. Okay, so it's for 6 marks, so we know this is going to be fairly involved, but let's take this one step at a time. Okay, so let's start by saying 701 is my total cost. But from the information above, we know that my fixed cost is 201. So we're going to take off my fixed cost, and that is going to be my cost, my variable cost, my cost that was specifically for buying the donuts, right? Remember, this is fixed costs that has nothing to do with the actual donuts, the number of donuts. It's just a fixed cost. So now we have 500. Okay, so we have 50 packets of donuts. Okay, how many donuts in a packet? 4. Okay, so did you see how I said highlight the numbers as you go? So there's 50 packets and 4 in each packet. So you say 50 packets times 4. You can put it in your calculator, but I know that that is 200. Okay, so it's 200 donuts. 200 donuts. I'm just going to label it there so that you know what I'm talking about. So it's 200 donuts and they cost me 500 Rand. Okay, because the 201 didn't go towards buying donuts. It was 4, just my fixed cost. So 500 Rand went towards buying my donuts. Okay, so I'm going to say 500 Rand divided by 200, right? So we're saying that 500 Rand bought me 200 donuts. How much did each donut cost? Each donut cost 250 Rand. Okay, but we're not done because it said to determine with calculations which store they bought the donuts. Okay, from which store? Well, if it's 250, we know that they bought from FLM. Now, an important thing to note is when you're doing a question like this, when you get an answer, it has to be one of the options, right? If you got like 2 Rand 90, you know you've done something wrong. 2 Rand 50 is the exact price. And so we say FLM, therefore FLM store. And so you have to write that because remember, you have to give your conclusion. That's a common mistake that students make. Okay, let's continue. Mr. Swartz stated that the break-even point was reached before the sale of 20 packets. State, with a reason, whether you agree or disagree. Now, as soon as you see the word break-even, you think to yourself, I'm going to go to the graph, I'm going to see what the break-even point is. Now, we know the break-even point is where income equals expenditure, right? But at this point, at 20, okay, at 20 packets, which is what Mr. Swart said. Our expenses are actually larger than our income, right? Our expenses are larger than our income by R1, right? So we're almost at break even, but we're not exactly. So we have to say, no, we disagree with Mr. Swart, right? We disagree. And you can literally just say expenses are greater than income at 20 packets, right? You could even put 401 is greater than 400, right? If you want to be specific, but you have to give a reason. You can't just say disagree. And you'll see that in the actual question here, it's for 3 marks. So you know that you have to say more than you disagree. Let's then now continue to 4.2.4, also 3 marks. If the selling price increased, write down with a reason, okay, so it's similar to the previous question, whether the break-even point would now be lower or higher, okay? So if we increased our selling price, so not our cost price is what we pay. Selling price is what we make other people pay us for it, right? So the R2.50 in this case would be the cost price. The selling price is whatever they sell it at. Now it's saying, if the selling price went up, what would happen to the break-even point? Well, my break-even point is where my income equals my expenses. Now, if my income increases, I'm going to cover my expenses quicker. If I cover my expenses quicker, I'm going to get to my break-even point quicker, right? So let's answer the question. Whether the break-even point would now be lower or higher. The break-even point will be lower, right? Because you'll get to that break-even point at a smaller number of packets because you're making more money per packet. Okay, so we have to say lower or higher. So you say lower. And then all you have to say is you're getting higher income, right? Higher income. And so reach break-even point quicker. Okay, that's all you need to say. Obviously, write out these, right? I'm just doing it quickly because I don't want to bore you, but please make sure that you're setting out your questions well so that your examiners know exactly what you're talking about. Let's do the last question here. Determine the percentage profit that they would make, so the family, if all 100 packets of donuts were sold. You may use the formula percentage profit equals total income minus total expenses over total expenses times 100. So, it's 100 packets, you go to the graph. At 100 packets, that was my income. At 100 packets, that was my expense. Okay, so now we just plug it into there, right? So we're going to our income is going to be 2,000, sorry. Our expenses are 1,201, and then we just times it by 100. So make sure you show this working out, okay? Because your examiner needs to see. Times 100, okay? So let's put that into our calculator. Big thing here is to make sure that you are typing it in correctly. I know I sound like a broken record saying that, but you've seen how many mistakes I've made. 66, I'm just going to say 53%. Why? Because generally speaking, we round off to 2 decimals. If we want to round off to 2 decimals, we look at the third decimal. In this case, it's 7, which is above 5, so we round up, and our answer is 66.53%. Let's just make sure that we've answered the question fully, because sometimes I forget, right? It says determine the percentage, okay? And so we've done what we need to. And so we've got 100% for this question, and this question was quite a high mark question. But you can see that if you just take it slowly, you make sure you understand your basics, you'll always get where you need to be. Okay, let's move on to question 5 of this paper.